There is the motion. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, I'm pleased to be able to take a contribution on the land transport legislation. Mr Speaker, this is a bill which is an important bill for some people. It's a particularly important bill, I understand, for farmers, because what it does is regularise what is currently an irregular situation. And I think most of us who have had association with farming communities know that there are some inconsistencies in the way that farm vehicles are treated and the way that the approach that is taken. And in fact, this is mainly dealing with ruck and the treatment of ruck. But Mr Speaker, the inconsistency goes much farther than that. I mean, I think that many of us are aware of the problems with trusts and the way that they deal with vehicles. And one of the questions I'd like to ask the Minister is whether that is being considered as part of this exercise. I mean, there are a number of what might be described as tractors, Queen Street tractors, that are driven by university students in Dunedin, and I want to know what is the ruck treatment. What is the ruck treatment of those particular vehicles? Mr Speaker, what I understand is that the objectives of this bill is to get into a more regular situation. I think any of us who have been involved in farming in any way, and I, like most people who've spent 6 years of my life in Taumarunui, used to do odd jobs on farms on occasions, especially for the period I was a teacher, and we had relatively long holidays, did quite a lot of scrub cutting, a bit of dagging, and quite a lot of haymaking. And probably the most important one in this particular case was haymaking, because when you're haymaking, you tend to, especially in some of the side road areas, drive the vehicles, drive the tractors when you're going from one hay paddock to another, or when you're taking the hay back, as I was more likely to be doing, taking the hay back to the barn. What you tend to do is to drive on the road. And there's a question then as to the legality of that. The vehicles are, not registered as road vehicles, and the problem with our current legislation is that the ruck system drives off registration, and clearly there's a degree of avoidance going on. I mean, I'm slightly in two minds about it. Sometimes trying to make the world perfect and to get everything regularised and in line is the last refuge of officials and fools. But if and what is not clear is whether there is such a major loophole and a major revenue loss in this area, whether it's something we should actually be worried about. And I'd be interested in the member for Rangitiki and his view on this as to whether it is worth regularising the situation, or whether the gap is so small that it is something that is not that important. This matter is, of course, a question of tractors, of whether we're the key proposal is to exempt fast tractors. That is tractors. Sorry. Well, no, sorry. I'm just relying on the regulatory impact statement. Tractors that go over 40k. Back in the days of the Massey Fergusons are the ones that I used to drive. They never go over 40.
28.
Well, the member has more technical detail. Mr. Speaker has more technical detail as to the quality of tractors that I do. But the old Massey Fergusons, very similar though to those actually that went to the South Pole, and probably at about the same pace, they certainly could not go over 40 kilometres an hour. And I'll just make the point, Mr Speaker, these tractors actually go at half the speed that Team New Zealand goes on the water. I mean, a fast tractor is actually quite a lot slower than a fast boat, and wind-powered boat. That, although calling a Team New Zealand yacht a boat is probably a bit marginal, I think they're closer to a hydroplane or a hydrofoil or something similar to that. But, Mr Speaker, what this does is it exempts fast tractors, that is tractors operating over 40 kilometres an hour on the road from ruck, and subjects them to an annual charge in lieu of ruck to cover the costs that they impose on the road network. The real question I've got, Mr Speaker, is, when you've got a tractor with big fat tyres, as they tend to do, they're big on the back, but the driving wheels are big. The question that I've got is, what is the damage to the road of that? I was involved in King Country in an incident with a bulldozer on one occasion, and when that went across the road, it went across State Highway 2, I suppose it would have been, out of Taumarunui. State Highway 3. No, State Highway 3. It went across State Highway 3 and made pretty tremendous damage to the road. A bulldozer on a bit of soft tar seal. It was very, very clear where the bulldozer had been, and there was repairs and there were costs involved in it. But, Mr Speaker, what damage does a tractor with fat tyres do to a road? In fact, I can't see any. So the question here is whether, in fact, we're setting up a system, an annual charge system, in lieu of ruck that is actually unnecessary. But because there's a question of whether, in fact, as is the want of this government, they'll spend more on the cost of collection than the actual cost of the problem. I really hate to quote Ruth Richardson, but the question I've got is, but I will. What's the mischief here? What is the mischief caused by a fast tractor with big tyres going on a road? Colin King knows it doesn't rip up the road because they're fat, they're relatively low pressured. They're relatively low pressured, and the city boy from West Auckland's probably never driven a tractor in his life, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the city boy from West Auckland who used to have potential has probably never. He did. I can remember when he was a deputy leader to Winston, and he was loyal to Winston. He was loyal to Winston. Then he was loyal to Jenny.
Full names.
Oh, sorry.
Full names.
Oh, sorry. The honourable member from West Auckland somewhere. Tianatu. Well, no. That is a member who's lost a marginal seat 3 or 4 times. 3 or 4 times. Never. That member is nearly as bright as Paul Quinn. Nearly as bright as Paul Quinn, and he keeps on losing. So, but getting back to the issue of the tractors, I agree, Mr Speaker, that the other suggestion that all unregistered vehicles, that is, vehicles exempt from registration or not required to be registered or operating under trade plates, should in fact, Mr Speaker, be exempt from ruck, and that, there's some logic to that. The only question I've got is that if vehicles that have got the trade, the dealers' plates on, if they're running up and down the country, whether in fact they should be exempt from ruck. But I'm sure that's something that the Select Committee will consider.
Members, this debate is concluded. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. A party vote's called for. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour. 34 in favour. Green Party.
14 votes in favour.
New Zealand First.
7 votes in favour.
Maori Party,
3 votes in favour.
Mana,
1 in favour.
ACT New Zealand,
1 vote in favour.
United
1
Future,
vote in favour.
Brendan Horan.
1 opposed.
Members, the ayes are 120, the noes are 1. The motion is agreed to.
Land Transport and Road User Charges Legislation Amendment Bill, first reading.
The question is that the Land Transport and Road User Charges Legislation Amendment Bill be considered by the Transport and Industrial Relations Committee. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Call on Government Order of the Day number 9.
Animal Welfare Amendment Bill, first reading.